Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Mahadava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Srimad Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakacarya Stotra Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Goswami Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavind Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Navadvip Mayapur Dham Ki Jagannath Puri Ki Ganga Mai Ki Jamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Samaveta Bhaktavind Ki Taking over the world with Srila Prabhupada Science and Book Distribution and Varnashram Farm Communities Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gaurango. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 8, text number 27. Mukhenam Lokam Arti Hara Smitena Parispurat Kundalam Manditena Shonayitena Adharam Bimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva Mukena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva Mukhena Lokarti Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva. Please repeat.
Sunasena Subhrava Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrava Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrava Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva.
Mataji.
Mukhena Lokarti Harasmitena Parispurat Kundala Manditena Shonayitena Dharabhimba Bhasa Pratyarhayantam Sunasena Subhrva
Mukhena by gesture of the face. Loka Arti Hara vanquisher of the distress of the devotees. Smitena by smiling. Parispurat dazzling. Kundalam earrings. Manditena decorated with. Shonayitena acknowledging. Adharam of his lips. Bimbam, reflection. Bhasam, rays. Pratyarhayantam, reciprocating. Sunasenam, by his pleasing nose. Subhvam, and pleasing eyebrows. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. He also acknowledged the service of the devotees and vanquished their distress by his beautiful smile. The reflection of his face, decorated with earrings, was so pleasing because it dazzled with the rays from his lips and the beauty of his nose and eyebrows. Purport. Devotional service to the Lord is very much obliging to him. There are many transcendentalists in different fields of spiritual activities, but devotional service to the Lord is unique. Devotees do not ask anything from the Lord in exchange for their service. Even the most desirable liberation is refused by devotees, although offered by the Lord. Thus the Lord becomes a kind debtor to the devotees, and he can only try to repay the devotees' service with his ever-enchanting smile. The devotees are ever satisfied by the smiling face of the Lord, and they become enlivened. And by seeing the devotees so enlivened, the Lord himself is further satisfied. So there is a continuous transcendental competition between the Lord and his devotees by such reciprocation of service and acknowledgement. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shritavpada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagan Lalita Shri Vishakan Vatamsha He Krishna Karana Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sandubhyevacha Patidanam Pavanebhyo Vaishamebhyo Namo Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swaminiti Namine Harijanagana Badi Jnana Karmandahari Prakatita Parabhaktir Bhakti Siddhanta Kantihi Vinay Nikara Lakshmi Nimna Mede Ragamyo Bhuvijayati Vikaso Bhakti Purvo Yatindraha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarane Vagisha Yasya Vadane Lakshmi Yasya Vakshasi Yasyasya Hridaye Samvitam Nrsimham Aham Bhaje Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Read the translation again. He also acknowledged the service of the devotees and vanquished their distress by his beautiful smile. The reflection of his face, decorated with earrings, was so pleasing because it dazzled with the rays from his lips and the beauty of his nose and eyebrows. Can I have that phone here, please? So, it's a very sweet verse. Everything about Krishna is sweet, of course, but this is extremely delightful for the devotees to think about how blissful it is to look at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and all the beautiful, obliging features to him. The Nectar Devotion, Srila Prabhupada says that in one sense, bhakti is more powerful than Bhagavan. The devotional service is more powerful than Krishna. Why? For what reason? For the reason that by performing devotional service, a person can control the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For example, Mother Yashoda wants Krishna to do something. Krishna does it. Why does he do it? It's not like Mother Yashoda is more powerful than Krishna or anything like that. Prabhupada says in so many places how a simple village woman, all the gopis of Vrindavan, they're simple village women. Still, how is it that when Krishna and Balaram are young, they clap and they chant, and Krishna and Balaram dance to their movements, however the gopis want them to dance? How is this possible? It's only possible because the residents of Vrindavan have captured Krishna by their love. By their love for Krishna, they have captured Krishna. We see this then. Also, when Krishna is young, he is manifesting the pastimes of being a small baby. He with great difficulty, he carries the two padukas of Nanda Maharaj on his head. And Nanda Maharaj and all the devotees of Vrindavan are so, they are so enamored and they're so captured by this loving act on Krishna's part that they can't think of anything else. In the Damodar Ashtakam it said that Krishna is drowning all the residents of Vrindavan in Gokula in a pool of ecstasy. In a pool of ecstasy. By Krishna is performing his transcendental pastimes. And Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrita Swadanam. And this, the nectar of Krishna's pastimes are an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. It's an ever-increasing ocean of transcendental bliss. So, when we see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, especially in his feature as Rajendra Nandan Krishna, comes and performs his pastimes over here, all his pastimes are so captivating, and all the devotees are completely absorbed in thinking about the ecstatic pastimes of Krishna, what Krishna did, what Krishna said. And we just celebrated Ram Navami, and we see that for 10 months when Sita was kidnapped by Ravana and kept in the Ashoka Grove, she had no hope. She had, where is Rama going to come? Where is Rama? There is no sign of Rama. My time is running out. You could think that, okay, 1 month, okay, Rama is going to show up. 2 months, 6 months, no sign. Half my time is up. 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. Finally, 10th month, she finally receives some news and some hope of Rama. And Hanuman goes back and tells Rama, I've seen the very emblem of chastity. She, no matter how many times Ravana approaches her, she always rejects his approaches. And she's always fully, firmly adhering to her complete devotion and chastity unto Rama, that she can't even think of anyone else but Rama. And then he says this very amazing thing. He says then, only the thought of Rama and the name of Lord Rama is helping her live. He says this very amazing thing. He says that just the thought of Rama and thinking and the word of Rama is the only way she's able to live. And then Sita says in the Sundarakanda I was just reading that when she sees Hanuman in the leaves, because she was performing the pastime of, she was going to hang herself because of separation from Rama, and then all these auspicious signs manifest on her body, and Hanuman sings a very amazing poem. It's translated in English. King Dasharatha ruled Ayodhya of fame. Rama was his name. Anyway, I'm forgetting so many of the things. But so when you see that poem that Hanuman composed, it gives you so much excitement. You feel so like, whoa, this is amazing. Jai, there's hope. Such a sweet way of bringing hope. And Hanuman thinks 3-4 times, because he says twice, he says that a bad messenger can ruin even the greatest plan. And he says this twice. And he also says another amazing thing. Hanuman says, only unwavering determination is the root cause of success. Unwavering determination, that nishtha. Unwavering determination is the root cause of success. So out of that firm devotion and adherence to the instructions of Lord Rama, Chittite Korya Aikya, he was able to compose an amazing poem. And Sita sees this monkey and she thinks that, I heard it's very inauspicious to see monkeys in my dreams. But how can I dream? Because I can't sleep. I haven't been able to sleep ever since I've been kidnapped by this Rakshasa. I haven't been able to sleep. And I'm seeing Hanuman, I'm seeing a monkey, and he's speaking something. And how is it that I'm able to even hear what this monkey is saying? Because all I can hear is Rama's voice. The whole time she can only hear Rama's voice. So what's going on? And she's really trying to figure it out. But that devotional service that she's performing to Lord Rama, she's completely absorbed. And all she can do is hear Rama's voice. That's very amazing. And we can have this experience even on the mundane platform. If you, for example, Giri doesn't understand a lick of Hindi at all. But once we were just shooting books at this New Jersey Ganesh festival, and there was this only one song, which was an advertisement for the booth behind us, and it just kept playing over and over and over and over again. And then when we went to this other festival and that song played, Giri's like, I know this song. I heard it in that festival. He doesn't know the song. Even, to be honest, I understand Hindi, but I can't understand what the heck they're saying. But he was able to remember it because that it created such a terrible samskara that he was able to remember that, So the same thing with Sita Devi, she's able to remember, it's on a completely transcendental and pure platform. She's able to remember the voice of Rama, and that's all she can hear. That's all she can hear. Sattvam Vishuddham Vasudeva Shabditam. That she's able to listen to this ecstatic Vasudeva Shabditam coming from the lotus mouth of Shri Bhagwan Ramachandra. So it's very ecstatic to think that devotional service is so amazing that the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes obliged. He becomes obliged to the devotee. He becomes obliged. And there's this, and we can see this even in the dealings of the great acharyas like Srila Prabhupada and the other devotees with the spiritual, with their disciples. That once Govinda Dasi Mataji got a very organic culture of wheat or something very special that she came and she gave to her the cook of Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada he would have his lunch and he would also have halwa. So, and usually halwa is made with semolina. I know that much. It's made with semolina. But he thought, we got this super maha organic wheat that I could use to make this halwa or something like this. And he made that halwa and he brought it to Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhupada had one look at it. And then with his left hand, he's like, what did you make it from? And with his left hand, this is Dinabandhu Prabhu's memory. With his left hand, he said, like this, so take it away. So, and this devotee that Dinabandhu Prabhu was saying, that this godbrother of his was a little soft. He was soft, so he couldn't handle it, and he was feeling so dejected and rejected. And then he went and he started praying to this picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He started praying to this picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he was praying. I worked so hard to make this halwa. It was so hard to get this wheat, but my spiritual master rejected it with his left hand. That's just so heavy. Take it away, with his left hand. So heavy. So he was praying and he was crying and all this, and all of a sudden, I forget the servant's name. It was not Shuddhakirti Prabhu. It was not Harishwari Prabhu. It was someone else. I'm unable to remember his name. And he calls him, such and such Prabhu, come here. And then he came, he said, get that halwa. And he got that halwa, and Prabhupada ate the whole, everything that devoted that halwa. There's no halwa left. And he ate it. Why? Because he was obliged to his disciples' devotion to him. And he was praying to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Okay, this person is helping me in my service to my spiritual master. Therefore, Prabhupada felt obliged and ate the whole thing. The whole thing. Nothing was left. First he was like this, but then he ate the whole thing. You see? So devotional service is very obliging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's the point. Devotional service is so obliging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We can see over here, Prabhupada saying devotional service to the Lord is very obliging to Him. There are many transcendentalists in different fields of activities, but devotional service to the Lord is unique. Why? Muktanam api siddhanam narayana parayana sudurlabha prasantatma kotishvapi mahamune. That there's so many muktanam api siddhanam, there's so many people who are liberated, there's so many people who are siddhas, they're perfected. There's people who have material qualification, or people who have not even material, people who have qualifications where they don't have attraction to the material world. They're liberated. The Brahmavadis, they don't have attraction to this material world. They're liberated. They're not envious of Krishna. They're liberated, and that's amazing. To meet someone who's freed of false ego is very impressive. Wow, you don't have this guy is actually not puffed up. This guy is actually not proud. Especially in Kali Yuga, we are proud for we didn't do anything. We're still proud. Kali Yuga, yes, I'm proud that I didn't do anything. I'm so cool. I didn't do it. We're proud for no reason. So no rhyme and reason. But to meet people who have qualifications are still not proud. Mukta nama siddhana. It's very fantastic. It's very amazing. But what's that? To meet those people who are Narayana Parayana, whose only shelter is the Supreme Personality of God. Sudurlabha Prasantatma. It's very, very hard to come across such a person. Kotishvapi Mahamune. You may meet so many Mahamunis, so many great philosophers, thinkers, people who are sense-controlled and know this and know that, the Chaturvedis, all these things. But those people who have endeared themselves unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, to meet such a person, it's a very rare and very unique opportunity. It's a very rare and unique opportunity. So, this is a very important point. The devotees do not ask, Prabhupada goes on to say, the devotees do not ask anything from the Lord in exchange for their service. Even in the most even the most desirable liberations refused by devotees, although offered by the Lord. Thus, the Lord becomes a kind of debtor to the devotees, and he can only try to repay the devotees' service with his ever-enchanting smile. So this is very important. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, he feels so obliged to the service that the devotees perform to him. And we've stated this so many times before, that every sentence of Srila Prabhupada that he writes in a purport is 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 verses packed up in one English phrase. And the more we study Srila Prabhupada's books, the more we study the Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we study Shastra, we can decipher and say, oh, this verse, that verse, that verse, that verse. And the Acharyas, they say this very amazing thing, that this is on the platform of Rasa Tattva, that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he feels that I have so many devotees, and I have to, reciprocate with all of them. I have to reciprocate with all the devotees. I have so many devotees that I have to reciprocate with. But he feels on the platform of Rasa Tattva, of course, he feels that, but for the devotees, their devotion is exclusively to me only. So my attention is spread out amongst all the devotees and all of this, but my devotees' attention is only upon me. So that makes Krishna feel even more obliged that, oh, these people are performing exclusive devotional service unto me. Ananya shintayanto mam ye janav paryupasate tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. To those who meditate upon my transcendental form, I preserve what they have and I carry what they lack. Krishna says this. Those who meditate on my transcendental form, exclusively thinking about Krishna, exclusive. This is for you and for you only. We can see, my Guru Maharaj said so many times, Krishna Kesha Prabhu's cooking, he really likes it so much. And when he's cooking exclusively for my Guru Maharaj. Exclusively for my Guru Maharaj. He's not cooking for anyone else, not thinking. And the spiritual master appreciates that cooking. He appreciates that cooking. He appreciates that devotion and that exclusivity of all the service just being done for you alone. All the service being done for you alone. So the spiritual master appreciates that. He appreciates, one of the best servants I ever had. Oh, it's so nice. He's cooking for me, doing it. So this is very amazing. It's very amazing that the spiritual master appreciates exclusive devotional service also. Guru Maharaj, we're doing all these things, but we're doing all this exclusively for your pleasure. So that's why my spiritual master told me so many times, and I wish I had listened to him. Better late than never. But the poison is personal ambition. You can perform so much great activities and so much great devotional service, but if it's mixed with the poison of personal ambition, then it becomes a case of Janiya Suniya Bhisha Kaina. Knowingly drinking poison. Knowingly committing suicide. Janiya Suniya Bhisha Kaina. So, if a devotee is performing devotional service exclusively, this is the whole point. Idam Gurave Idam Namama. Idam Vishnave Idam Namama. If we are performing devotional service with such an attitude, then it's freed from anya bilashita shunyam. It's freed from jnana, karma, adinavritam. If it's freed from this mixture of devotional service and whatever devotional service that we are performing, if it's freed from that and that offering is pure and exclusively done for the pleasure of Krishna, Krishna becomes obliged. Krishna becomes obliged. Yes, we were speaking about this one devotee, Krishnendra Prabhu in RVC. He has some serious mental problems from all the, substances that he's put in his body before coming to Krishna consciousness. But the fact that he, in spite of all that, in spite of his mind giving him trouble, the fact that he sticks to that devotional service so much, Dhanavir Goswami Maharaj is so pleased with him. He's so pleased with him. It's very amazing. Why? That exclusivity, that exclusive devotional service to Krishna obliges Krishna. That obliges Krishna so much. This is all, yes, I have my conditioning. Yes, I'm fallen. Yes, all these things are there. But I'm doing this exclusively for you and I don't want to enjoy it. I don't want to enjoy it. Because the minute the enjoying mentality comes, the offering is ruined. The offering is ruined. So this is an important point to note. That's why we can read, now we'll move over to a section where we're going to do a little bit of reading here and there from different sections of Srila Prabhupada's books and the Srimad Bhagavatam, what the Acharyas have commented. I've taken the liberty of keeping your phone with me, if that's okay. Okay. So, we can see this over here. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, chapter 32, text number 20. This is the part where Krishna disappears from the rasa dance and he arrives again. So this lines that we just read about devotees do not ask anything from the Lord in exchange for their service. Even the most desirable liberation is refused by the devotees, although offered to the Lord. Thus the Lord becomes a kind debtor to the devotees. So this section, now we can see this here. Okay, so the gopis ask Krishna this question. They ask him, Shri Gopya Uchu Bhajato Nu Bhajantyeka Eka Etad Viparyayam No Bhyam Sha Bhajayantyeka Eta No Bruhi Sadhu Boho. The gopis said, some people reciprocate the affection only of those who are affectionate toward them, while others show affection even to those who are indifferent or inimical. Yet others will not show the affection toward anyone. Dear Krishna, please properly explain this matter to us. So the gopis are asking this to Krishna. And then Krishna says a few things. But so I wanted to look at this verse. Naham tu sakya bhajatopi jantun bhajam yamisa amisham anuvritti vrittaye yata dhano labda dhane vinashte tachintayanyan nibhrito na veda. But the reason I do not reciprocate, now Krishna, we can look at the verse before this. He says, then there are those individuals who are spiritually self-satisfied, materially fulfilled or by nature ungrateful, or simply envious of superiors. Such persons will not love even those who love them. What to speak of those who are inimical? So Krishna says this in the verse before. Now he says, but the reason I do not reciprocate the affection of living beings, even when they worship me or gopis, is that I want to intensify their loving devotion. They then become like a poor man who has gained some wealth and then lost it, and who thus becomes so anxious about it that he can't think of nothing else. And one person we can think of who Krishna did this to is Narada Muni in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. That he appears to Krishna. So he appears to Narada Muni, and Narada Muni says, and Narada Muni is so excited. Whoa! He hears, he said, what is that ecstatic experience I just had? And he's trying to do this again, this and that. And the Supreme Lord tells him, my dear Narada, what I've given you is very special mercy, and you're not going to get the same thing for the rest of your life. Oh no, that's devastating. That is completely devastating. That when the Supreme Person, he gives you something you want and immediately takes it away. And you can't want anything else after this. After this, you can't want anything else. You just cannot go back to material life ever again. You've reached a point of no return. And now, you can't have it anymore. Wait until your next life. You can't commit suicide either. So now, Pashane kutipo banta anale pashibo goranga gunera niti kota gile pabo. Where shall I smash my head against a rock, or shall I enter into a fire? Where will I see Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all good qualities? Narottam Das Thakur's whole life is like that. He gets darshan of Lord Chaitanya and he disappears. He gets darshan of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Chaitanya. He gets darshan of all these devotees and they disappear. And he's just become completely absorbed in the fire of transcendental separation from the Supreme Lord and his associates. Gauranga gunera nidhi kota gile pabo. Sesaba sangire sangi je koilo bilas se sangana paya kande Narottama Das. He is unable to say. Sesaba sangira sangi koilo bilas. Yeah. Where will I get this association again? Where will I get this association again? And then the most devastating thing of all times is Srinivasa Acharya's disciple, Ramachandra Kaviraj. He is, when Narottam Das Thakur goes to meet Srinivasa Acharya, he first sees Ramachandra Kaviraj, and he sees Ramachandra Kaviraj, and they just have this attraction towards each other. They just immediately just hit it off. On a completely transcendental platform. And some devotees you can see like that when you meet some devotees, even though you've never met them before, even nothing like that, but you immediately hit it off. That's been my experience with Chandan. From the time that I saw him, me and him immediately hit it off. It was just amazing. Wow. But we can see Narottam Das Thakur and Ramachandra Kaviraj. That's on a whole other level. And they just they had this amazing transcendental connection, and Srinivasa Acharya also saw him and said, and I know you're going to feel separation from me, but you can take Ramachandra Kaviraj. He's my disciple. Anyway, I already see what's going on. Why don't you just go with him? So he They do so much devotional service together and all this and all that. And then they do all this preaching. And then Ramachandra Kaviraj and Narottam Das Thakur are sitting in their bhajan kutir, and it's just both of them performing devotional service. And then he gets a letter from Srinivas Acharya, I want to go to Vrindavan, and I want to take Ramachandra Kaviraj with me. And it's going to be hard for me to go with anyone else. And then Ramachandra Kaviraj says to Narottam Das Thakur, why don't you also come with me? He said, I don't want to go to Vrindavan. My spiritual master Lokanath Swami has disappeared. Bhugarbha Goswami has disappeared. Raghunath Das Goswami has disappeared. Krishnadas Kaviraj has disappeared. I don't know if Srila Jiva Goswami is still alive, is still on this planet or not. And I don't want to find out. So it's going to be too much for me to go. Therefore, I'll stay here and I'll just wait for you to come back. And he's there, he's chanting and chanting and chanting. Time goes on, time goes on, time goes on, time goes on. And he starts to think, Ramachandra Kaviraj should have come back by now. Why isn't he here? What's going on? And then his disciples, Ganganarayan Pandit and Hari Rama Prabhu, they're both there and they're thinking, should we give him the news or not? Should we give him the news or not that Ramachandra Kaviraj disappeared from this world? And then they go, and just by looking at their expression, he understands, okay, even he's disappeared. So Narottam Das Thakur is experiencing this. He's experiencing this intense suffering. That's why my Guru Maharaj has this ecstatic lecture called Narottam Das Suffers in Love. It's such an amazing lecture. It's inconceivable to even think that someone could have such realizations on Narottam Das Thakur. But he says Narottam suffers in love. And he's suffering, the so-called suffering of feeling separation from the devotees. But it's so ecstatic also at the same time. It's so ecstatic at the same time. Why did Rama have to be separated from Sita? He wants to increase that feeling of separation. He wants to increase that feeling of separation. So we see the Supreme Lord does this to so many devotees. So all they can think of, he gives up, boom, pulls back. And all you can think of is that, the perfect example. Poor homeless guy wins the lottery, gets so much money, spends that money, and now he can never go back to being a poor homeless guy ever again. That going back to being a poor homeless guy is going to be suffering for him. It's going to be so horrible for him to go back, and all he can think of, that time when I won the lottery. I remember that day when I scratched the card and the number was my number, and I went and I got $550 million or whatever. I can't imagine how someone would blow all that money, but it's happened. They blow all that money. I remember that day and I did this and I did that. And they're completely absorbed in that thought of, whoa, that day I happened to somehow walk by, and I usually go to this place to buy my alcohol, but I went to that place to buy my alcohol. And then I'm giving a commentary on their extrapolating on what they may be thinking. But, and then that day, I went to this liquor store, and that guy was so drunk that he gave me 2 tickets instead of 1, and wow, I got it. I won. And then, boom, here I am now. All he can think of is that. So the same thing with the gopis, that they attain the highest bliss, they attain the topmost thing, and then they disappeared. And then my Guru Maharaj gave a class on Radhashtami. It was a very interesting festival going on at that time in North Carolina. But at that point of time, my Guru Maharaj gave a class on Radhashtami, and he read from the Prema Samputa by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And he gave so many details, and a couple of devotees, I remember Jitagirish Prabhu told me that's one of your favorite lectures, and you heard that lecture so many times. You told me the same thing too, Chandi. You heard that lecture of that Guru Maharaj gave on Radhashtami so many times, because it's so amazing. It's helping us understand the feelings of separation and all this and all that of Radharani and Krishna, why he did what he did and all these things. And the devotees can hear it if they really like to. But we see that the Supreme Lord, he does these things to increase the devotee's attachment to him. Increase that attachment. That you can't think of anything else after this. You can't think of anything else. And then Krishna goes on to say, my dear girls, understanding that simply for my sake you had rejected the authority of worldly opinions of the Vedas and your relatives, I acted as I did only to increase your attachment for me. Even when I removed myself from your sight by suddenly disappearing, I never stopped loving you. Therefore, my beloved gopis, please do not harbor any bad feeling toward me, your beloved. Dayata. That's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's name is Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayata Das. That he is the servant of Srimati Radharani's beloved, Sri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayata Das. So we see that the gopis are so intimately attached to Krishna, and Krishna is saying, please don't feel bad. Please don't feel bad. I simply did this to increase your attachment for me. The gopis are sitting there and singing their Gopi Gita, and Krishna is hiding on top of the tree, simply listening to their songs, increasing their attachment. Oh, see how much my devotees love me. And this seems to be pretty messed up. The gopis, they leave everything, they do all this, they come for Krishna. Krishna is enjoying with them and disappears. This is so, from a mundane perspective, it may seem that this is so wrong. How can he do this? How can this happen? How can that happen? And you see, but Krishna is doing it to increase his attachment for him. And then my Guru Maharaj, he was giving a lecture in Salem, and he was saying that, really? You want to trust Krishna? He calls the gopis in the middle of the night and abandons them. He does this and he does that. All these things. You want to trust Krishna? Better we put all our faith in Srimati Radharani. He was giving, I think this was also a Radhashtami lecture. Really? I was so shocked that he said that on the Vyasa in Salem. But he was saying that, you get more bang for your buck. So better to be on this party. That was his point. Better to be on this party. So we see that that Krishna does all that, but he does all this simply to increase the devotee's attachment. Increase the devotee's attachment. And then comes the famous verse. This is very famous. Na parayeham niravadya samyujam swasvadu krityam vidu bhayushapi va ya ma bhajan durjara geha shrinkalaha samvrishya tadvaf pratiyatu sadhuna. I am not able to repay my debt for your spotless service, even within the lifetime of Brahma. Krishna is saying that he, the proprietor of all the wealth and everything in the world, he cannot repay his debt towards the gopis for their spotless service. He cannot repay the debt. That's how amazing it is, devotional service. Even within the lifetime of Brahma, your connection with me is beyond reproach. You have worshipped me, cutting off all domestic ties which are difficult to break. Therefore, please let your own glorious deeds be your compensation. The Krishna is saying, I cannot repay you. Krishna is saying that. And we can see this. So, Prabhupada also, he translates this, and anyways, it's a similar translation. But we see that Krishna himself is saying, I cannot repay you, my dear gopis, for all the service that you have done. I cannot repay you. And your only compensation is your service to me. That's your only compensation. And the Srimad Bhagavatam, other places, over here, for example, in this purport, Prabhupada is saying, the devotees are, okay. So the Lord becomes a kind debtor to the devotees, and he can only try to repay the devotees' service with this ever-enchanting smile. That is the only way that Krishna can reciprocate with the devotees. That's why my Guru Maharaj, he gave an ecstatic lecture on a very beautiful name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead called Pushpahasa. If it's from the Vishnu Sahasranama, it's a very ecstatic lecture. I made some verses we can look at from listening to that lecture. But Pushpahasa, the beautiful transcendental smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's so ecstatic, it's so amazing. And in so many places in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, his smile, his face is always compared to a lotus. But then Shukadeva Goswami, in some places, he says that he thinks, my Guru Maharaj was saying, Shukadeva Goswami thinks that lotus, it doesn't really match the beautiful smile of Krishna, the beautiful face of Krishna. Therefore, let us call him Mukunda, whose mukha can be compared to the kunda flower. It's a very beautiful flower, and his face can be compared to that. So we see that the beautiful smile of Krishna is so enchanting, it's so amazing, that the devotees, they are completely enchanted by this ecstatic reciprocation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this whole point, Pushpahasa, all these things, one of the acharyas explained that this is whole prayojana avatara, the whole reason of the Supreme Lord coming to this material world is to give the living entities an opportunity to perform devotional service for Him. And when that devotional service satisfies the Supreme Lord, He smiles. And that smile is very pleasing to the devotees to see. Now, I'd like to show a couple of verses. But one point my Guru Maharaj was making, that we can see that some flowers, they blossom upon seeing the sun. Right? The sunflower, the lotus opens when he sees the sun. Similarly, he says, Krishna's face blossoms when he sees his devotees serving him. When Krishna sees his devotees performing so much wonderful devotional service towards him, it's the right use of the word wonderful, it's not an inappropriate use of the wonderful. When the devotees are performing so much wonderful devotional service to Krishna, Krishna's face blossoms just like the flower blossoms upon seeing the sun. It's very amazing. The Lord is so pleased by the devotional service of the devotees. Lord Rama was pleased even by the squirrel kicking some sand into the ocean to help him cross the ocean. Lord Rama was pleased with that. He was so pleased with that. So, and his face blossoms. His face blossoms. We see that in the Uttarakhanda, where the Saptarishis, Agastya, and all of them come, and Lord Rama is asking them questions, then he makes Angada and Hanuman sit on his laps, and he tells Sugriva, I can never repay the devotional service that these devotees have performed in my service. He puts him on his lap and he says, and he gives him jewels and all this, but he says, I can never repay you. I can never repay you for the service that you have done for me. That's how obliged Krishna becomes. That's why his Sulabha is easily obtainable. Solabhyatvam. That his easily accessible nature, because he's very soft. Pushpahasa, he's very soft. The Supreme Lord is very soft towards his devotees and very hard towards the demons. Supreme Lord is so soft and nice. So we see that we can look at a couple of verses now. Now we can go Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 8, text number 22. It says, when Krishna and Balaram, with the strength of their legs, crawled in the muddy places created in Vraja by the cow dung and cow urine, their crawling resembled the crawling of serpents, and the sound of their ankle bells was very charming. Very much pleased by the sound of other people's ankle bells, they used to follow these people as if going to their mothers. But when they saw that these were other people, they became too afraid and returned to their real mothers, Yashoda and Rohini. And then in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, and this is a very ecstatic purport, we can read this. When Krishna and Balaram were crawling about Vrajabhumi, they were enchanted by the sound of ankle bells. Thus they sometimes followed other people who would enjoy the crawling of Krishna and Balaram and exclaim, oh, see how Krishna and Balaram are crawling. Upon hearing this, Krishna and Balaram could understand that these were not their mothers they were following, and they would return to their actual mothers. Thus, the crawling of Krishna and Balaram was enjoyed by the people of the neighborhood as well as by Yashoda and Rohini. Yashoda and Rohini, the two children themselves. Now, in this other place, Srila Prabhupada, he speaks. Now, this is very amazing. This is a very intense thing that in the Srimad Bhagavatam is described. What is this material world? This is a very heavy description of this material world. But Krishna, but the Bhagavatam Kapila Dev says this material world is an ocean of misery comprised of the tears of the fallen conditioned souls. So this is a very heavy thing that's said, and we can see this. I can read the exact verse over here. Yeah. Okay. The yogis should contemplate with full devotion the compassionate glances frequently cast by the Lord's eyes, for they soothe the most fearful threefold agonies of his devotees. His glances, accompanied by loving smiles, are full of abundant grace. And next verse over here. A yogi should similarly meditate on the most beloved smile of Lord Sri Krishna. A smile, this is what Prabhupada is speaking about in this purport, the smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A smile which for those who bow to him dries away the ocean of tears caused by intense grief. That Krishna's smile will drown, will completely evaporate the ocean of intense grief that the living entities are experiencing. The yogi should also meditate on the Lord's arched eyebrows, which are manifested by his internal potency, in order to charm the sex god for the good of the sages. So if you're ever being afflicted by lusty desires, which is quite possible in Kali Yuga, then you can meditate upon the beautiful transcendental eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, and this is a heavy purport, the entire universe is full of miseries, and therefore the inhabitants of this material universe are always shedding tears out of intense grief. There is a great ocean of water made from such tears. But for one who surrenders into the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the ocean of tears is at once dried up. The ocean is once dried up. One need only see the charming smile of the Supreme Lord. In other words, the bereavement of material existence immediately becomes subsided when one sees the charming smile of the Supreme Lord. It is very amazing. The ocean of grief is completely dried up if you see the beautiful, charming smile of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now we can look at this verse also. This is another very amazing verse in the same chapter. The yogi should fix in his heart the activities of Lakshmi, the goddess of fortune, who is worshipped by all demigods and the mother of the Supreme Person Brahma. She can always be found massaging the legs and thighs of the Transcendental Lord, very carefully serving him in this way. And Prabhupada writes in this purport, I'll just go to the point because otherwise it'll take too much time. Okay. Okay. It is advised here that the yogi always keep this picture in his heart. The devotee thinks of this relationship between Lakshmi and Narayana. Therefore, he does not meditate on the mental plane as the impersonalists and voidists do. Prabhupada is speaking about this in this purport over here. Bhava means one who accepts a material body, and Abhava means one who does not accept a material body but descends in the original spiritual body. And anyway, I wanted to read some of this section, but we can see this, and then we can look at a couple of other verses. This is very amazing. 2:131. They say that the Vedic hymns are the cerebral passage of the Lord, and the jaws of teeth are Yama, the god of death, who punishes sin. The art of affection is a set of teeth, and the most illusory material energy is his smile. This great ocean of material creation is but the casting of his glance over. This is a description of the universal form, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And this is a description of his smile. The Lord smiles affectionately, displaying his teeth. The intelligent person who can grasp the truth about the Lord becomes a soul fully surrendered unto him. So if you can simply grasp the beautiful smile of the Supreme Lord, that sometimes it's said that the Supreme Lord is smiling gravely. I never understood, what does this mean? How is the Supreme Lord smiling gravely? I guess we'll have to go and find out ourselves, because I can't make head or tail of this. What does this mean? Supreme Lord is smiling gravely. And he shows his teeth, which are like beautiful pearls. Very beautiful. The smile of the Supreme Lord is so beautiful. And then, now this is arguably one of my favorite chapters in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is Madhya Leela chapter 21, and the title of this chapter is The Opulence and Sweetness of Lord Sri Krishna. It's very amazing. So, we can go to this verse, Madhya Leela chapter 21, text number 134. I'm not going to read the Bengali because we don't have time. The Creator says, let those who will see Krishna's beautiful face have two eyes. This is a gopi saying. Just see the lack of consideration exhibited by this person posing as a creator. If the Creator took my advice, he would give millions of eyes to the person who intends to see Krishna's face. If the Creator will accept this advice, then I would say that he's competent in his work. Also, they curse him. They're very upset because the eyes are blinking. And they're upset with Lord Brahma, but I'm not trying to act like a smart ass or something. But I was reading in the Ramayana when Maharaj Nimi pleases the demigods, they ask him, what benediction can we give you? And he asked for the benediction that let me always appear within the eyesight of the devotees. So then it's explained that the blinking is actually caused because Maharaj Nimi keeps showing up in our eyes of all living entities. That's what the Ramayana says. It's crazy. It's like, whoa. I never thought of that. It's Maharaj Nimi who's making his blink. Anyway, side point. So we can now, okay, this is really beautiful. Krishnanga Madhurya Sindhu, Samudra Mukha Indu. Samudra Mukha, his face, Mukha Indu. Ati Madhu Smita Sukhi Rane. E Tina Lagila Man, Lobhe Kare Asvadhan. Shloka Pade Swahasta Chalane. The transcendental form of Lord Krishna is compared to an ocean. A particularly extraordinary vision is the moon above that ocean. Sri Krishna's face, and an even more extraordinary vision is his smile, which is sweeter than sweet and is shining like beams of moonlight. While speaking of these things with Sanatana Goswami, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to remember one thing after another. Moving his hands in great ecstasy, he recited a verse. Madhuram madhuram vapurasya vibhor madhuram madhuram vadanam madhuram madhu gandhi mridu smitametadaho madhuram 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 madhuram. Oh my Lord, the transcendental body of Krishna is very sweet. His face is even sweeter than his body. But his soft smile, which has the fragrance of honey, is sweeter still. My dear Sanatan, the sweetness of Krishna's personality is just like an ocean of ambrosia. Although my mind is now afflicted by convulsive diseases, I wish to drink the entire ocean. The repressive physician does not allow me to drink even one drop. This verse is amazing. Krishna's body, this is so amazing. Krishna's body is a city of attractive features, and it is sweeter than the sweet. That is why we like to distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita, because they can read this. It's ecstatic. His face, which is like the moon, is sweeter still. And the supremely sweet, gentle smile on that moon-like face is like the rays of moonshine. And now, let's see the purport of Srila Prabhupada, which makes the sweet even sweeter. The smile on Krishna's face, which is just like the smiling of the moon, generates greater and greater happiness for the gopis. It's so amazing. It's so ecstatic. Then we can see this. Madhura Haite Samudra. We don't have much. The beauty of Krishna's smile is the sweetest feature of all. His smile is like a full moon that spreads its rays throughout the three worlds. Goloka Vrindavan, the spiritual sky of Vaikunthas, and Devi Dham, the material world. Thus Krishna's shining beauty spreads in all 10 directions. His slight smiling and fragrant illumination are compared to camphor, which enters the sweetness of his lips. How poetic, how amazing. The poetry of these days is nothing, can't even be compared to this poetry. This is real poetry. His slight smiling, what does a slight smile look like? I don't know. We'll have to find out. His slight smiling and fragrant illumination are compared to camphor, which enters the sweetness of his lips. That sweetness is transformed and enters into space as a vibration from the holes of his flute. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada's books, Lord Brahma heard the Vedas in the form of Krishna's flute song. So, Srila Prabhupada's books are the same smile of Krishna. That is what it is. I'm sorry, I guess I'm too fanatical and I always bring it back to book distribution. I couldn't help it. It makes sense here. It makes sense. It's so amazing. And then, the sound of Krishna's flute spreads in the 4 directions. Even though Krishna vibrates his flute within this universe, its sound pierces the universal covering and goes to the spiritual sky. Thus the vibration enters into the ears of all inhabitants. It especially enters Goloka Vrindavan Dham and attracts the mind of the young damsels of Rajabhumi, bringing them forcibly to where Krishna is present. It is so beautiful. Krishna's smile is so amazing. And that smile's sweetness is transferred into the flute. And Krishna's flute song is played and it attracts all living entities. And we can see, and we may say, all right, Prabhuji, this is all so nice, it's very ecstatic, and all this amazing thing. But then, what about us who are stuck in this material world? Okay, smile of Krishna, this and that. And then my Guru Maharaj says, the most important smile of all times in the material world. What is the most important smile of all times in the material world? This important smile is described in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1. Senayoru bhayor madhya, in that verse. Arjuna says, what's the verse number for Sena? Prahasaniva Bharata, right? Prahasaniva Bharata. So in this verse, the most important smile of all times for the benefit of all living entities was displayed by the Supreme Lord. Because Arjuna is there and he's bewildered, performs the pastimes of being bewildered by all these things. But the most important smile, where Krishna smiles, and he sits and he's sitting there calmly thinking, you can be bewildered by the material energy, you can be fazed by all this, but I am never fazed by all this. And then he gives the ambrosia of the instructions of the Bhagavad Gita, which is meant for the deliverance not only of Arjuna, not only of Bhishma, not only of Drona, but of every living entity in this world. Of every living entity in this world. The Supreme Lord speaks the Bhagavad Gita. Supreme Lord speaks the Bhagavad Gita. And this is a very, very ecstatic thing. And that's why Srila Prabhupada also, he spoke the Bhagavad Gita, and he goes around the entire world glorifying Krishna. He goes around the entire world glorifying Krishna. So if we see this, I'll just read one last verse, and then my Veda base is completely crashing here. Let me try to pull it out one more time. Huh? Yeah, sorry. Can I read this one verse and stuff? No? Okay. All right. So anyway, sorry. If there's any questions or comments, we can take them now. Do we have any questions, comments, or protests? Yes, Vishnujita Prabhu.
It's going to take me a minute, but... Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
So let me know when I ask a question.
You're on.
Is it Damodar Prabhu?
Yeah.
Oh no. Whoa, I'm
Hare
nervous.
Krishna. Also, Mahotsaha, you can hear me?
Yes, Prabhu, I can. Just give me the phone. I can put it in.
So, you mentioned so many nice quotes. I really appreciate all the nectar. But there was one thing that you mentioned twice. You quoted Ananyasyantyantomam. To those who are sincere, Krishna will carry what they have and preserve what they have and carry what they lack. So my question is what are the qualities of real sincerity?
What are the qualities of real sincerity?
So, what the qualities of real sincerity is, from what I've read in Srila Prabhupada's books, we can understand that those devotees who are trying their level best, I can keep it here so you can hear me clearly. I can each speak into the phone. You can, okay. So the devotees who are trying their best in spite of all obstacles which may be in front of them, and so this is one verse Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. He says, idam tute guhyatamam pravakshyami nisuyave jnana vijnana idam tute guhyatamam pravakshyami nisuyave jnana vijnana sahitam yajnata moksha sheshubhat. Right? So Krishna makes this very important point. Jnatavyam anusuyave. So this anusuya, this whole principle of not being envious of the principles of pure devotional service. And in the purport to Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text number 1, Srila Prabhupada speaks about this. He says that the whole point of not being envious of the principles of pure devotional service is actually what sincerity is. That is what sincerity is. That yes, we may not be up to the mark. We may have so many difficulties in our understandings, in our whatever. We may have so many difficulties in our practice of Krishna consciousness. We may be slipping and falling. We may have issues with false ego, with lust, with anger, with greed, with hankering, with illusion. We may have a problem with all these things. But if we know, okay, I'm fallen, but I know what the pure devotional service standard is, and I'm going to perform the standard of pure devotional service to the best of my ability, and never claim that my so-called low fallen standard of devotional service is pure devotional service. So the definition of sincerity is, in one sense, to not be envious of the principles of pure devotional service. When a devotee is performing devotional service, not being envious of the principles of pure devotional service, but is trying to still please the Supreme Personality of Godhead to the best of his ability, that is sincere devotional service. That is the whole principles of Sharanagati. That the devotee is trying his level best to do anukulyasya sankalpa pratikulyasya varjanam. That he is trying to do his level best to accept what's favorable in Krishna's service and reject what's unfavorable. And the times that he does that, he doesn't justify his rascaldom. To not justify a rascaldom in devotional service, and to understand, okay, I'm a rascal, I'm screwing up, but I know what the real thing is, and I want to aspire and strive my best to do it, and never giving up hope or faith that at one day he can come to that platform. That is sincerity. Is that okay, Damodar Prabhu?
Yes and no.
What's the
To
no
bring
part?
it, because what you're speaking is of a very high caliber and a high mentality. My question is more in the essence of on a more practical level. We're dealing with each other as devotees. We're dealing with our minds, with our desires. Um, so how do we, on a more basic level, show our sincerity to Krishna in the sense of how we cooperate amongst each other? Even Srila Prabhupada once said, you show your love by me by cooperating. So you see devotees who are doing wonderful service in so many ways, but I'm not speaking specifically about anyone, but just in general over the years I've been around, I've seen different scenarios where devotees are so expert at cooking or deity worship or preaching or book distribution, so many different things, but they lack the character of how to deal nicely with other devotees. So I'm always thinking, how does this show any sincerity? If I understand not being envious of the principles of devotional service, but I wanted a more deeper answer about practical application of.
Yeah. So one thing we see is that pride ruins everything. That you could be a great cook, you can be a great book distributor, you can be a great pujari, you can be a great whatever we can be. And when we perform that devotional service and we try to lord it over other devotees, that's not a sign of sincerity. It's not a sign of thinking that, wow, look, I'm performing all this service, therefore I can demand service from other devotees or something like that. But whichever devotee performs great service, but is able to appreciate the service of others and and get inspired by their example of devotional service, and from that inspiration do his service better. Always thinking that I'm doing some service by the mercy of the Supreme Lord, although it's faulty, but I'm able to see, oh, these devotees are doing so amazing. These devotees are doing so much service. They're performing such amazing devotional service. So to not be proud or puffed up about one's own so-called devotional service, and always appreciating the service of other devotees and helping them and encouraging them and taking inspiration from them. That's a sign of performing sincere devotional service. And ultimately, bottom line is the whole Trinadapi Sunichena principle. The principle of amanitvam, adhambitvam. That's the whole point, that of being humbler than a blade of grass and more tolerant than a tree, and not expecting any respect but offering all respect to others. Amanitvam, amanina manadina. That we are amani, that we don't want to have any glory for ourselves, but manadina, we want to give that respect and all that to other devotees. So we may perform devotional service, we may do all these things, but we should understand that it's simply done by the mercy of Krishna, and we can and not take any credit for ourselves, but give all credit to other devotees. Is that okay, Damodar Prabhu?
Yeah, so what you're saying is real sincerity means it's not just something that's going to happen immediately, but by persevering, and even when you, using the analogy of like you're riding a bike and you fall off of it, the child gets put back on the bike by the mercy of the father, or in this case, by the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So real sincerity, from what I can understand from what you're saying, is that you have to keep going no matter what.
Yeah.
And there has to be that determination, and at the same time, the exchanges and reciprocation between devotees within their service. There has to be patience. There has to be understanding. There has to be forgiveness for mistakes that are made.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhu.
Jai. Hare Krishna. Anything else? That was came straight out of left field. Didn't see that one coming. Anything else? From the men's side? Okay. Mataji's? No? Okay. All right. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.